we hold ourselves back because somebody said something to us somewhere, somehow, someday that said we couldn't do something or it couldn't be done. The 4-minute mile is used over and over again, and yet it's a great analogy. Once Roger Bannister broke that, look how many other people have broken it. Somebody has to go ahead. Somebody has to move forward. Somebody has to care enough to be the first.
Yeah.
And so whoever's listening to this, let's be the first, because we make up a story and then we spend the rest of our lives making certain that that story is true. So what story are you writing for yourself?
Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. As usual, I like to honor our guests because I know they're coming with a couple of things I deem very expensive, their time. 24 hours has been offered to every single man and woman on this planet. What we do with our time will speak volumes of who you are. I invite everyone to come and learn from her, learn the value of her, and she will teach you much. The other is the journey. The journey is a powerful creator. It has created, and before us, she comes. And I am so excited that she's here because she has been on this road for a while. And so she has a lot of things in her that we want access to. What are those? Wisdom, knowledge, insight. Why? Because those are going to assist you and I to become better human spirits while we're here on this planet. Dianna, welcome to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you so much. What a great opportunity. And I love how you're adding value to everyone all around the world. You're in so many countries with people listening to you.
Thank you so much. It is a privilege and an honor to have you here. This question, as I said, I always level it or toss it, if you will, to our guests because I want to give them an opportunity to let the audience know how they serve, how they show up. My question to you is, how do you serve men?
Well, I love the question. First of all, I'd love to share with our listeners a little bit about how I came to what I'm going to share.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing is sat and I wrote my eulogy. And I know that sounds very creepy. Like, what is it that I desire for someone to stand up and say about me when my life here is over as we know it today, right? And I reduced that down to a couple of things that I want to be known for. And that is, she added value and she made a difference wherever she went. That's what I want to be known for. And then it's a matter of, let's live my life that way every single day. How am I going to add value? At 7 a.m., Ken, my phone goes off and it says, what will you do today to add value to others? And at 7 p.m., it goes off and it says, what did you do today to add value to others? So it's kind of an accountability of myself because if I don't know what I want to be known for, how's anybody else going to even recognize it, right?
Yeah.
I've got to program my own brain, program my own life, and be intentional about my life. I'm responsible for my life. Nobody else is.
Yeah.
It's nobody else's life. Yet so many people are asking other people what they should do, asking other people to design their life for them. And they're living a life by default. They've given the pen to the story of their life to somebody else, and they don't even realize it. I mean, we are designed to be great, yet we continually sabotage ourselves with thinking mediocre thoughts about who we are and the experiences that we encounter. I just desire to help everybody understand that they have a gift inside of them.
Yes.
And I'd love to help them open up that gift and give it to the world, share it with the world and let them know, because we are not products of our circumstances or intentions. We are products of our decisions.
Absolutely.
So let's decide today, what is it that you desire to be known for? And once you know what it is, and wake up every day excited to be that person, excited to show the world who you actually are. Now, I got to tell you, I started out, my career in real estate was a little interesting. Ken, I woke up, I had my real estate license based on winning an auction for $50. That's all I could afford to bid. And it was on television. PBS was raising money, 2:00 in the morning. Nobody else besides me wanted to go to real estate school. I was up with one of my sick kids, right?
Yeah.
And I turned on TV to kind of help me get through watching this child as he was unfortunately very ill. Well, I went through all of the things. I went to 12 offices back in those days. It was a man's world. Everyone already had a woman realtor. So they would just turn me away, even though I had a great sales background from selling home care products, right?
Mm.
I finally found someone that said yes. 12 offices to find a yes. And I was so excited. And then I woke up the next morning, Ken, and I realized I can't afford a babysitter. How am I going to get Realty? So I thought, well, I'll put my kids in a little red wagon. Now, it was a radio flyer wagon, so it was top of the
Yeah.
line, right? But put them in a wagon, and I started going door to door because I knew nobody would come to meet me. I
Yeah.
had to go out and meet them. And I realized that I wasn't really selling real estate. I was selling dreams. Dream of home ownership, dream of memories that could be created within the family, memories for children growing up in a home full of love, in a home that people loved and they wanted to take care of. And so I think that little bit of difference set me apart a lot because I wanted to add value to the people. And
Mhm.
I did all sorts of things besides just asking them about their home. I found out what they needed. I took a survey. They all wanted a grocery store close by. Here's the funny part, Ken. I didn't know a grocery store was in the makings of being built there. I went around, I went to over 100 homes asking them if there was anything in our area that you would like, what would it be? And they went, a grocery store. And so I went, oh my goodness. I wrote it down. Every month I'd come by and I'd go, is it the same thing? Is there anything else that you need? And they go, no, that's it. Literally within 2 more months, a big sign came up that said King Supers, which was a chain there, is building a grocery store in this location. So then I went and I knocked doors there every single day. I was out knocking doors, getting to know the people. I knew their names, their kids' names, their dogs' names. And they would go, Dianna, how did you do that? How did you get a grocery store to come here? That was a God thing. I mean, thank you, Lord, for helping me out. And I just found that by having the right approach, knowing that I was actually somewhat the product that people had to buy,
Yeah.
and then helping them find their dream home. Now, I got to tell you, the average agent back there in Ken was selling 5 homes a year. I sold 104 homes my first year in the business.
Wow.
And people said, how did you do that? And I went, nobody ever told me I couldn't.
Yeah.
Well, we think, Ken, that sometimes we hold ourselves back because somebody said something to us
Yes.
somewhere, somehow, someday that said we couldn't do something or
Mhm.
it couldn't be done. I'm going, why? The 4-minute mile is used over and over again, and yet it's a great analogy. Once Roger Bannister broke that, look how many other people have broken it. Somebody has to go ahead.
Mhm.
Somebody has to move forward. Somebody has to care enough to be the first.
Yeah.
And so whoever's listening to this, let's be the first because we make up a story and then we spend the rest of our lives making certain that that story is true. So what story are you writing for yourself? And for heaven's sakes, don't give the pen to somebody else because after all, what kind of story are they going to write for you? They're
Mhm.
going to write a story that serves them, not you, for heaven's sakes. And it's up to us to realize that we're the creator, the main character, the crusader, and the champion of our own story called our life. And that's why I wrote the book, Becoming More. You can't get to better until you get to different. Because we've got to wake up and be the hero of our own life. No one is going to come along with a cape and swoop down and save us. It's our responsibility because it's called my life, not
Yeah.
called your life. It's called my life. And therefore, we're responsible. And we never change things by fighting existing reality. We just have to make up a new story
Yeah.
and allow the story to change the reality.
It is always the story. It is the story that we tell each ourselves as a young individual that something may have happened, some trauma or whatever that is, and we create a story to manage the pain, if you will. And it places us in a survival mode, and then all of the less than thinking begins to incorporate into our life, creep into our space. And as you said, No one told you that you couldn't. But when we began, and I always tell people, be very mindful what you say to yourself because you're actually listening. And so you have to become that individual that will change the words, the spells, if you will, spelling words. You have to be that individual that will change it. And you change it by taking responsibility. Do not surrender your life to someone and expect that it would come out in a good way. Because as Diane mentioned, they don't care about you. They're doing their own thing. They're trying to come to grips with their own story. And so when you surrender your story to them, you could have lose years, many years of your life. Wives surrender their story to their husbands. Husbands surrender their stories to their wives. And so you have these individuals that have surrendered, and 30 years plus later, they realize what has happened. And it is our responsibility to wake up. As Diane said, we need to wake up. So how old were you, Diane, when you wrote that eulogy to govern your life?
I was probably in my 30s at that point, and I realized that when I want to say something, because I loved what you said about our thoughts, Ken. And what came to me is that we don't suffer because of our thoughts, right? We suffer because we judge them, we resist them, we believe them, and we wallow in them. And that makes up our identity. And so when you were talking about thoughts and the stories that we make up in our minds, that's exactly it. So here I am, I'm somewhere in my 20s or 30s, and they say, write out your eulogy. And I thought, well, that's creepy. I'll put it in my book for everybody to do, though, because I think it does help us.
It's a necessary
We don't want to be
exercise.
known for somebody that's the victim. Well, let's look at this. Every story has a victim, it has a villain, and it has a hero. Now, some of our stories include coaches and mentors, yet think about every film in Hollywood. It has a victim. Something happens, they have challenges, that we all have challenges. You're not going to make it through life without challenges, for heaven's sakes. It's how do we respond to them? And then we have somebody that kind of beats us up. And sometimes they say, oh, don't complain about what you tolerate. And that just infuriates us even more because they go, you don't understand me. See, when people go through trauma, they don't realize what that does. And sometimes they bury it deep into their brain. And it comes out in different ways. And so we have to help train our brain to a new way of thinking.
Yes.
And if we play, and I played all those parts. I played the victim, I played the villain, and I also played the hero of my own life. And it's a whole lot more fun playing the hero than those other two things, right? So you asked about stories in our mind. When I wrote that, I had stories. I had stories of, can I make it? Every year I'd wake up, can I do what I did last year? Because there was this part of me that says, oh, you were lucky. And of course, people said, oh, you can never do that again. Nobody's done that. It can't be done. And sometimes I started believing them. I had to take a stand for my own greatness. I was standing for all the limitations, and people wanted to bring those limitations to me. It's like crabs in a bucket. And we're constantly comparing ourselves to others and subjecting ourselves with these feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. Because, see, when I compare myself to somebody else, I'm comparing my insides to their outsides. They may have a smile on their face and act like they have it all together. And I'm going, are you kidding me? I'm in here feeling like I'm so insecure. I don't have what it takes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe what's going on in my life. And they've got it all together. I wish I could have what they have. And then I could do like what they do. And then I could be just like them. And I'd like to be like them. And that's the victim mentality. You're living in the world in a have, do, be society. And that isn't how the world works. And then there's the villain that says, you got to do more, you got to do more, you got to do. Well, they live in the world of a do, have, be society. And then there's the hero. The hero understands I have to be like them. I have to think like them. Then I can do what they do. Then I can have what they have. And eventually I can give whatever I desire to give. because all of us have stories. It reminds me of Jeremy Brown. Jeremy Brown was a catcher, and he was for the A's. And it was very interesting because he was a great hitter. He could get up, he could hit the ball, and because he was overweight, and everybody teased him about his weight. And they kept telling him, they called him the one base wonder, right? You can get to first base, but you can't get past first base because you're so fat. And they had fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all that went into his subconscious mind, and he believed it. And he would hit the ball and he would never go past first base. He went to, I don't know if he went to a motivational class or whatever happened to him yet. There was one day he said, if I hit the ball, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it all I got, and I'm going to go for it and prove to everybody I can go to second base. Now, he gets up to backhand, faces the pitcher, and he hits the ball, and he takes off for first base, and he rounds first base, and he's going for it. And all of a sudden, all of his worst nightmares come running back in his head.
Yep.
And he turns to go back to first base because he doesn't think he can go to second. And as he does that, he stumbles and he falls. And he literally crawls back to first base, hugging first base. And he looks up at the umpire to see, am I safe? Am I okay?
Yeah.
And the umpire starts laughing. The first baseman is laughing. He looks around at all the stands and they're all laughing. The first baseman bends over and he goes, hey, dude, you hit a home
You hit a
run.
home run. Yeah.
And gets up, dusts himself off, and everybody's laughing as he goes around. And it's so fun because how many home runs have we hit? And we don't even realize we hit a home run because we're hugging on to whatever that first base is. We're hugging on to that limiting belief that we have. And I tell people, hey, if you can't take a stand for your greatness, let me take a stand for your greatness.
Yeah.
Borrow my belief in you. You're a child of God. I believe in you. I believe he gave you something. So grab hold of my belief until you can get your own, because you can't go back and change the beginning. So I don't care where you've been, yet you can start today and change the end. And that's what C.S. Lewis taught us, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can change the way you end up. Only, do you know what you want to be known for? See, it all comes back to that, knowing what you want to be known for. And you can, don't fake it till you make it. Just face it till you make it, right? This is what my past has been. And start loving ourselves. Because if we don't love ourselves, how can we love anybody else?
I think that's the main piece that we're missing before we begin, is if we love ourselves, we're not going to listen to what anyone else says about us because it's simply their opinion. But once we have gone through the process and the journey to love the self, which is liberating in many ways, but it's a hard journey, is one that you have to go in and excavate all of those programs that they have been telling you from the beginning of your life on this planet that you will never amount to anything. Hey, did you know you're too short? Do you know that you're too fat? Do you know that this and this and this and that? And then I tell people God affords us the opportunity for a crisis to come into our life. And that crisis kinds of gives us the opportunity to disconnect from the programming for a period of time so that we can begin to ask those questions. Who am I? What is going on? Why am I here? And as you begin to engage in that process of investigating of yourself and questioning all of the beliefs that has been deposited in you, you become aware that there is an individual that is residing within this frame that is called the body, that has some answers to those questions. And once we allow that individual to take the forefront, if you will, as he is, that individual is able to hook up into God and to begin to draw from him, because the principle is to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart. And as you have that relationship, you are going to learn to love yourself from there. Then you're capable of loving your neighbor. But if you do not love yourself, and that is the sin of the world, because the world and the people within the world do not love themselves, we can abuse another. But if I love myself, how can I even think about that? Because I've seen the beauty that is in me, the preciousness that is within me, the one of a kindness, if you will. I tell people we are an endangered species. If you look at yourself as an endangered species, you will not allow people to disrespect you.
Yeah.
If you look at yourself as an endangered species, it'll guide you as to how you engage with others because you see another endangered species before you. And so the human race, the condition that we have, Diane, is that we do not love ourselves. And so I was very impressed in the fact that you, at a young woman, in her 30s, made that exercise that it has governed her to this day. And I tell people we all have to find our North Star, as you say. What is it that you want? What is it that is going to make you get up and move when you're so exhausted that you can't get up and move? That is your North Star. Find it, locate it, go inside, excavate it, do the work. That's what it takes. You must become a disciple to do the work. A disciple does the work. Get in there, find out what is your North Star, and you will see how life and how the world, because when you see and locate your North Star, I believe, Diane, you are speaking from a degree of faith when you're releasing those words is once you find it. And when you do that, the world is designed according to my belief. This natural realm was created by faith. And so when you operate by faith, you are creating just like God did in Genesis chapter 1. He gave us the blueprint. You must speak to your situation. That's why I tell people when you are speaking, be very mindful because you are listening and you will believe it faster if you're mimicking what your mother and your father has said to you. Go and
Yes.
find what you know. Many of us look in the Bible for those insights as to who we are, the preciousness of us. Find it wherever you find it and begin to see the depth of who you are and then express that. So here you are. You have found your North Star. I love your mantra in the morning and your mantra in the evening. I love it. It's just absolutely brilliant. So here you are doing the things as you are saying, you're learning about who you are and you're expressing it. You're watching the manifestation of it. You called, and I tell people, I believe that when you spoke to them, you had that community crystallize a need that they needed, deep need that was there. And because of your questions to cause them to crystallize that, it was needed and it manifested. Until we begin to start doing these type of work, we are just playing games. Here you are. You've been doing this for so long. As a young woman that is starting in the beginnings of your beginnings, Diane, how did you begin to implement some of those tools to come away from the thinking, the poisonous thinking of those that were around you? You're not going to do this again. You're not this. What did you do to help you during those times?
Well, it's interesting because I do believe that God gives us certain things that help build us. I call it layered learning, where you have learning upon learning upon learning. I learned that from my mentor, John Maxwell. Layered learning
Mm-hmm.
is what he calls it. And I love that term because, see, when I was a young girl in 8th grade, I found my brother on the floor. I thought he was dead. His eyes were rolled back. What they found out is he had a brain tumor. And back in those days, well, Yale had just started their neuroscience department. I mean, they didn't know much about the brain at all. And he went away and they kept him there, but they had no physical therapy. They had nothing. They sent him home and he had to learn how to walk and talk. In fact, he had to learn how to walk and talk 4 different times in his life, right? So he comes home and mom and dad buy him a tape recorder. And of course, he says into the tape, I say a word, he says a word, we rewind, play it back. And he had to reprogram his mind, which is what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
We have to reprogram our mind to a new way of thinking because we've trained it to think the
Yeah.
way it is right now. Well, I came up with an adaptive learning model that I still work today. We learn something, we implement it, we fail at it, we find a new way to do it. And most people stop at that failure because of the stories they're told, something that they allowed to get into their brain to program themselves. Now, that started me off in learning about the brain. Let's fast forward as we go through some of these things, because my mom and dad, fabulous people. I hit the lottery when it came to parents. Let me tell you, they were great parents. And dad sold tickets to the American Motivational Society after they sold the grocery store. So I got to go listen to Zig Ziglar and Norman Vincent Peale and people that the younger generation, they don't
Yeah.
know because they've all passed on.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn, great, great philosophers of life. Zig Ziglar would sit at our kitchen table, right?
Wow.
And we would talk. And so all this layered learning about the brain, learning about telling myself who I was. Here's what I found. Number one is the way we program our brain. We have millions upon millions of neurons in our head. In fact, we have more neurons than we have in the galaxy that there are stars. Now, as here's a neuron, we have a thought, it comes along and acts and hits another neuron. The thought's complete. And I know there's
Hmm.
things that happen, chemicals are released
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all of that.
Hmm.
I'm just being very simplistic. It's kind of like Ken taking a walk across a patch of grass. A patch of grass, you walk across the grass once, it's no big deal. Walk across it twice, it's no big deal. If I keep walking across that same area over and over and over again, pretty soon I have a rut. The grass is gone.
Hmm.
That is our brain. We've had that thought so many times that it instantly goes that way. It travels so fast because our brain loves easy, it loves simple,
Yeah.
it wants easy. And we've trained it the easy route.
Hmm.
Now, that's called nerve cells that fire together, wire together. Neuroscience also tells us the greatest part about it is that nerve cells that no longer fire together no longer wire together. And so we can literally find a new path to take. And as that grass, if you don't take that path anymore, pretty soon that grass starts filtering back in, right? And after a while, you can never tell there was a pathway there at all. The grass is filled back in, and that's how our brain is. See, and until we heal the wounds from our past, they'll continue to bleed into the future.
Hmm.
So, yes, we can go back and visit that and learn from it, that adaptive learning model, and then move forward with who it is that we desire. And one of the ways we can move forward, Ken, is to have gratitude. Every single day, wake up, 5 things you're grateful for. Grateful for hot water, for a shower, for water pressure, a towel to dry off with. I mean, a brush to brush my hair. There's so many things as we look at what we could be grateful for. And a grateful mind is lit up. Every part of our mind is lit up when we're in gratitude, the creative part, the logical part, the emotions of joy, because you can't be positive and negative at the same time.
Yeah.
Therefore, gratitude brings in that positivity. Yet when we're complaining, nothing's lit up other
Yeah.
than worry and anxiety and stress. And the world as we created it is a process of our thinking. And we cannot change it without changing our thinking. So all this layered learning happening, then came a very interesting part. I learned that we cannot give what we do not have.
Hmm.
So if we don't love ourselves, how can we give love to other people?
Yeah.
If we don't put the knowledge inside of us, how can we give it to other people?
Yeah.
If we don't have joy in our heart, how can we have joy with other people? And it all starts with our thoughts. Just like you said earlier, everything begins with our thoughts because each gives what they have. And I'll share this one quick story with you. When Germany had the wall, and thank goodness it's down, yet when they had this wall up, the people in the East German side took a load of garbage and they took it out and they dumped it on the streets of West Germany. Now, all of those people could have been very angry, and they could have taken that and they could have taken it back in and thrown it back out, or they could have wanted to retaliate. You know what they did? They took milk and canned goods and things of value and built just there by Checkpoint Charlie something for the East German. They put bread, they put butter, they put things that they could use with a sign that says each gives what they have.
Yeah.
So what are we giving to the world and what are we taking from it? is the hand that's open to give is open to receive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's everything originated from the thought.
Yes.
Theo. God said, let us make man in our image. Where did he get it from? It came from his thought.
Yes.
And as a result of that, it then guided him to create a universe so that he can then put this man that he wanted to put on this place. So everything came from here. And he began to put in place the process by which he is going to create a home, if you will, a dimension that he's going to give to this individual to have dominion over. And so when you and I approach our life, we have to, when we see Genesis, it shows up that it was a mess. And creation, when we read it, everyone thinks of it beautiful. No, there was darkness before light. And then God said, let there be, and began to exercise his dominion, just like we do. And we have the right to, as we we pick the thoughts. And meditation for me, Diane, it helped me to pick which thought I gave permission to give birth in my life. We become creators. He wanted light. He was very specific. He didn't say, give me that. He was very specific in his declaration as to what he wants. And that's what you did when you wrote down. You became very specific about your eulogy, and you picked them and you laid it out. And you were very specific in what you were going to do in the evening. And so when you release those words, you are releasing the power of faith. And so that force that created the earth supersedes any natural law ever on this planet, because Jesus Christ, through faith, was able to break the natural law and he walked on water. Peter did the very same thing. Samuel, we know, Joshua broke the law. He stopped the sun. These men and women exercised the law that created the universe in order to supersede the natural realm. And you and I have to do the very same thing. Before I come out of my bed, I say 5 things that I am grateful for. When I go down in my bed and go to sleep, I repeat the 5 things that I was grateful for from that day. And so why am I doing that? Because I'm creating a state. I'm allowing and putting my mind in a state. And once we put our mind and create that state, it will then govern our process, our thinking, which will govern our behavior, which will govern how I speak, which will govern how I show up. And so gratitude is one of the most powerful forces that you will ever implement in your life. And I challenge all of you guys that are listening to us to write those 5 things. And then as you get more comfortable, they will come up. But if you don't have it, change your state by what you confess. You are a creator. It is your responsibility to create. Where your life is today, you created it. I know people will tell you, no, you don't. But even on a default mode, you are creating because you are a creator. So then if you are creating, you have to decide what type of world do you want to create. As Diane talked, she got her mantra and she says it all day. Now, mantras are very important. There's a story in the Bible with this gentleman by the name of Abraham. God came to him and said, Abraham, at the time he was called Abram. And he said to him, I want to make you a father of many nations. And Abraham couldn't get it. So God gave him a mantra when he changed his name from Abram to Abraham. Abraham means a father of many nations. So God believes in mantras. And so when anyone and everyone said Abraham, they were confessing that he was the father of many nations. Find your mantra and change your world. Here you are. You are an author. You are well respected on the plane of this earth, as they say. And as you are learning about who you are as a creator and you are witnessing the effects of your actions, your to-do list, if you will, talk to me when you began to serve others and watching the dynamics, because the servant, what it does is that you are taking someone with a dark perspective that they've hang on to for the longest time in their life, 20, 30 years maybe. And then from spending time with you through your questions and so forth, you begin to move that table, that needle, and they began to move, and they're allowing this new perspective to come into their life. And the Bible says, You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Most of that new perspective,
Yeah.
and that the old one came from that trauma. Invite us to one of those stories, one of those precious meeting. I hate that term, stories. One of those precious encounters that you are having with someone, and you had an opportunity, and I know what it will do to you, but what did it
Yeah.
do to them?
I truly believe that we are here to serve others. Once again, you can't give what you don't have. So I believe that a lot of the tragedies, the things that we have that happen in our life, well, they happen to us because of something that somebody said to us or whatever it is. Yet I'm sitting here and I was talking to a lady, it was in coaching, and I'm very tuned into the words that they use.
Yeah.
And she used words like, I'm so devastated. I can't believe what's happening. You know, poor woe is me constantly. And this is happening and that is happening. And I go, stop. Let's change the words. Instead of saying I'm devastated, I'm depressed, whatever it is, let's say I'm working through it.
Yeah.
I'm working through it. I had another lady I coached, and it was about, I'm so frustrated. They just frustrate me all the time. I go, well, frustration shuts down the creative part of your brain. So let's say I'm fascinated.
Mm-hmm.
And when we become fascinated, opportunities grow, opportunities show up, opportunities are there all the time. We just don't see them because
Yeah.
we don't have our eyes open. We've got our blinders on through life, thinking that it's this way when there's a whole world out there that could be another way. Now, I've got to tell you, I've made a lot of mistakes. When you said that I'm highly recognized, and I've been very blessed. I've taken a coaching program from losing $1 million to making over 500 million. I've been known to help people become millionaires because of changing their words, because of helping them construct new neural pathways in their brain. And people have said your book is the owner's manual for life. It's a workbook to
Yeah.
help them literally reconstruct their brains to a new way of thinking. I want to share something with people though, because I too am human. And when you say share a story with us, there was a time, Ken, I was making so much money. And I must have started thinking I was really something because that's all I can think of. Ego is the worst thing that can happen to us. And pride cometh before the fall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm making money. I'm not watching my money. I've got 4 real estate offices. I own my own company. People are working. Everything's going good. I started a property management company. I have 72 houses we're taking care of. Every month, the rents are coming in. I get a portion of that, a small portion, yet it adds up. And I had my friend who I trusted so much taking care of the property management. So I signed the checks, right? I thought the rent checks, I thought they were going into my bank account. No, they were going into hers. I thought the mortgage company checks that I was signing were going to the mortgage companies. No, they were going in the trash.
Wow.
I signed checks to the sellers. Well, those were all going out. Well, as you can imagine, now I got all this money going out. I got all these expenses. I've got all this stuff happening. And she's taking money over there and embezzlement over here, and all sorts of craziness is happening to where I wake up one morning and I don't have any money. Now, that's my fault because I didn't watch my money. I could have caught it the very first month, Ken. I
Yeah.
want people to hear this. I went into victimhood for a little bit, and then I had to look in the mirror and say, hey, everything rises and falls on that person in the mirror right there when it comes to your own life. I went to a meeting that night and I served on a board of directors. 3 other people rode with me, Ken. When I came out, guess what? My car had been repossessed. Everybody on the board knew it because the president of the board, had called the police and the police reported that it had been repossessed. And he announced it to the entire board, not thinking we were all in the parking lot. He did the best he could. Yeah, people teased me about don't ride with Dianna if you're going somewhere. You may not get a ride home.
Yeah.
It was devastating. I sold my real estate offices. Of course, everybody knew, so it went for pennies on the dollar. I went back to selling and I had to start over. And I want the people to hear it was all me. If I'd have been watching my money, that would not have happened. If I would not have gotten into this, ooh, everything's going so good for me. And it really humbled me. And yet I've been able to help so many people become known for different things. Now, I paid everybody back. I didn't take up bankruptcy. I didn't say, so what, just you're out money. I had to negotiate. I became a fierce negotiator with banks and mortgage companies. I paid every seller back. All the bankers, though, in my area knew it. I didn't pay much attention to what was happening other than I went into the bank one time. This is about 2 years later after I'd paid everybody back, and I asked for a line of credit. He goes, whatever you want. I go, what? And he goes, Dianna, you don't think that people around here know what you did? I mean, you were borrowing everybody's cars to go out and show real estate. There was one couple that thought I was so rich because I had 4 different cars the times that I was showing them home. Because I was borrowing them from everybody else. The interesting part is these are the things that help me build the company I told you about that I went to 500 million. It's all in the book as to how we can change our life. So when you hear all of this, don't think, oh, it's easy for her. No, it hasn't been easy.
Yeah.
I could tell you we'd have to make the show about 6 months long to hear all of the failures that I had. Yet if you're not willing to fail, you'll never succeed.
Yeah. It's a
But
part of the
it comes
journey.
from that loving yourself and loving others and desiring the best. And don't be a people pleaser. Don't do things because somebody else wants you to do it. Do it because you desire to do it. Do it because you desire to have that feeling and to give back. Yesterday I had a great experience. I went to help with welfare. We packaged 3,000 pounds of cheese.
Mhm.
There were 12 of us, everybody at different locations in this area. And of course, you have to scrub down and put hairnets on. I mean, all the food things are done. And as I'm sitting there taking the blocks of cheese with, rubber gloves and putting them in the little packages, and then they go through the machines and it seals it off and it cuts it and it goes, and
Yeah.
then they weigh it, and part of it goes to a food bank and part of it goes to a warehouse where it'll be given to people that need food. It was 4 hours. I really didn't have that I thought I could take away from my business. Yet those 4 hours gave me so much joy. And when we're in the service of other people, we're actually feeding our bodies full of
Mhm.
really good
Good
chemicals.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Good
so
stuff.
I don't know if I really answered your
Yeah, you
question in
did.
a way other than helping the lady and
Yeah.
different things that we can do. So if you're feeling down, go volunteer somewhere.
Yeah. I
Go
did the
help
same.
somebody else and see how
Yeah.
much better you'll feel. And there comes a point, Ken, you've done it because you're doing this podcast. We go from the success that we want for ourselves, and it's all about us and our success,
Mhm.
till we move into significance,
Yeah.
where we want to see the success for other people. That's what you've done. You moved into significance a long time ago. You teach your children. You've went all over the world with your children, giving them experiences. I've been able to go around in many places of the world with John Maxwell and his team,
Yeah.
teaching values to children, putting the values in them at a young age, because it's so much easier to
Yep.
raise a boy than change a man,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. One of the words or phrases that I never allowed in my house with my children was "I can't." I would tell
My
them,
kids thought it was a swear word. They they thought can't was a swear word.
yeah, I would tell them, I said, what you say is, at this time, I don't have the information that is necessary at this time, but you will do the work to get that data, if you will. You have a mic. It's March 4th. You have a mic. This mic is plugged into, we're at 3 billion, a little more than that, people on this planet. What would you say to us?
It's a great question. I would say it does not matter of your achievements. Doesn't matter where you are. There's always more. There's more to be. There's more to do. There's more to have. And there's a lot more to give. And we can change. You have the capacity to change because every 6 months you're getting a new liver. Change every moment, your skin is changing, you're getting new cells. 10,000 die every second, 10,000 come on every second. Change. And yet we look at ourselves and we go, this is the way I am. I want you to add the word now. This is the way I am now. It is not who I will be tomorrow. And then go for the change because you got it in you.
I'm going to leave it at that. And all of you guys that have been listening to us, we're going to provide everything for you to get access, all the links, everything, because you need to get in her space. There's much wisdom there. There's much insight. There is much to give you and guide you to your freedom. And so we're going to provide all of it so that you can drink of her and learn who you are, the power that reside in you, and how you can change your world and your family and your neighborhood just because you are looking at yourself and changing yourself. Diane, thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment.
Ken, thank you so much. You are changing the world, one conversation at a time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.